All right, this is your chapter 3 review for your test tomorrow, October 3rd, on Thursday, so please study it. 3-1, pairs of lines and angles. So the questions were at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and write them on here with whatever space that I have to write on here. So looking at number 1, or the question says, think of each segment in the figure as part of a line. So all of these segments, you should be writing them as lines because they're telling me they're part of a line. So if you didn't put your arrows, please make sure you put your little arrows on your lines because they are lines. And then it says name line or lines or plane or planes that appear to fit the description. You should have named all of them, not just one. On your test, if it specifies one, you could just name one. But if it does not say one, please name all of them. So looking at these, number 1, lines perpendicular to QR. You have to find what's perpendicular to that. So looking at it, you should have had 4 answers. I'm going to kind of scoot this over a little. You should have had RN, line RN. You should have had line PQ. Okay, again, don't forget those arrows at the top. You should have had line QL. And the last one is MR. All right, number 2. It says lines parallel to QR. For this one, there are 3 lines parallel to QR. So we have N or ML. ML. We should have JK and NP or PN. You could flip them, that's fine. All right, looking at the next one, lines or line skew to QR. There are 3 for this one, there are 4. 4 for this one. So 1, we have JN. Remember, just a refresher, skew means not on the same plane, not parallel, and non-intersecting. Okay, it has to have all 3 of those things to be skew. So JN, we have KL, PK, and JM. And then for plane/planes, parallel to plane LMQ. And there's only one. It is plane JPK, however order you want to write it in. Please make sure you are not putting arrows on top of it because it is a plane. And I just highlighted which plane it was. Yes. I'm sorry, I can't really hear you. JKN is fine. J, K, P, and N, any 3 of those letters in any order is fine, or you could have named it using all 4. Yeah. All right, 3.2. It says find the value of X and Y. So for these, you did not have to write, explain your answer, but I'm going to kind of give you an explanation so you have it. So when you look back, you can say, okay, now I figured out why I used this number. So for these, I'm going to kind of give you an explanation for them. But again, you did not have to do that. So for 5, the easiest one to find first was Y. So Y is going to equal 35. How do I know Y is going to equal 35? Good. So you did not have to write corresponding, but I'm going to go ahead and write it for you just so you know. Corresponding. Okay, X. What do I know about 35 and X? They're supplementary. They're linear pairs. Okay, so I'm going to do 180 minus 35 is going to give me my X. So if you subtract it correctly, that's 145. And they're supplementary angles. So again, you did not have to give those descriptions, but I am writing it for you so you have it. Will there be questions like this on the test? There will be questions where you have to identify what the angles are called, yes. And there will be questions where you have to solve for x or y. So I'm just killing two birds with one stone. I'm writing both of them. Okay, number 6. I'm going to go ahead and find my y first. So looking at y, that's right here, and kind of circled in purple. I'm going to do 180 minus 48. It's going to give me 132. So y equals 132. Oops. And these are consecutive interior angles. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and do my x. X, according to 48, these are alternate interior angles, which are congruent. So 48 equals 5x minus 17, or you could have written it the other way, that's fine. I'm going to get 65 equals 5x, divide both sides by 5. X is going to equal 13, and these are alternate interior angles. Oh my goodness. All right, number 7. I'm going to go ahead and find y first. So looking at my angles, these are corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are congruent. So I have 2y equals 58. Divide both sides by 2. Y is going to be 29, and they're corresponding. And then for my x, same thing as we did for number 5. These are supplementary angles. Adding them to equal 180. So I have 58 plus 2x equals 180. Subtract 58 from both sides. I'm going to get 2x equals 122. And x equals 61, and they're supplementary. If you put linear pairs, or if you're identifying them as linear pairs, that is also correct, because they are adjacent angles, meaning they're next to each other, and they add to equal 180. Number 8. For number 8, I'm going to go ahead and find my x first, because that, to me, I'm able to identify, which is right here. These are alternate exterior angles, and alternate exterior angles are congruent. So setting it up as 6x plus 32 equals 116. And then I'm solving for x. So 6x equals 84. X equals 14. And these are alternate exterior angles. And then last thing is I'm going to go ahead and solve for y. Looking at y, I can take this angle right here. Why? Because 6x plus 32 equals 116. So instead of using 6x plus 32, I'm going to go ahead and plug in 116 here. So I'm solving it as 5y minus 21 plus 116 equals 180. So solving these two together, I'm going to get 5y plus 95 equals 180. Subtract 95 from both sides. 5y equals 85. Divide both sides by 5. Y equals 17, and again, they're supplementary. All right, any questions on 5 through 8? Okay. All right, 3.3. Now for this question, they're telling us that their lines are parallel. In the previous ones, they showed us the lines that were parallel by the arrows, the little red arrows on it. So solving these are just solving for x. So again, I'm still going to state what I'm using to identify how to solve for x. So looking at this, These two angles are consecutive interior angles, and consecutive interior angles are supplementary. So consecutive interior. All right, solving it, I'm going to have 73 plus x equals 180. Subtract both sides using 73. X is going to equal 107 degrees. All right, looking at number 10, same thing, solving for x. What kind of angles are these? What kind of angles do I have here? What would I consider them? Good, they're alternate exterior angles, and alternate exterior angles are congruent. Alternate exterior, which are congruent, so I'm writing it as x plus 14 equals 147. Subtract 14 from both sides of my equal sign. X is going to equal 133. All right, looking at number 11. These are not alternate interior, alternate exterior. They are not corresponding. They're not consecutive. I know 3x is here as well because 3x and 3x, they're corresponding, they're congruent. Now I can see that these angles are supplementary. Okay, so I can go ahead and add them. Add both of them and set them equal to 180. They're supplementary angles. So first I'm going to go ahead and combine my like terms. And then I'm going to subtract both sides of my equal sign with 20. You're always doing inverse operations to both sides of my equal sign. Yes?
Is 2x like on the top or towards the bottom?
Say it one more time for me.
Isn't when the 2x is on the top?
This angle, you have to kind of be able to tell if you're not sure on the test or quiz, I'll help you, but it's closer to this top angle. So it goes right here. All right, questions on 11. Yeah. So you mean how would you name this one? Like what would it be called? You would have to do it in steps. I couldn't just say, oh, it's supplementary angles or they're alternate interior. I would first say that these are you could do it this way. You could do it either way. I would say these are corresponding and move my 3x here. Or you could have moved this one down and say it's corresponding and moved it down. And that would also have been fine. Or you could have taken the 3x and put it up here and said they're alternate exterior and then know they're supplementary by this line. It's just however you want to do it. Hold on. Say it one more time. What did you write? What is that?
So it's consecutive interior and then
Vertical?
Yeah, and then vertical.
You did vertical. That's fine. Like I said, you could do it multiple ways. Yes, you can see these are vertical angles. So this angle down here is 3x. And then you have consecutive interior angles. It's just however you want it. You just have to really know what's congruent and what's supplementary. Then you should be able to tell. Yes. Yes, I know. All right, going to 12. These angles are corresponding angles. So I'm going to write corresponding. These are corresponding angles, and corresponding angles are congruent. So I'm going to go ahead and set them equal to each other. 7x minus 11 equals 4x plus 58. And then I'm solving for x. I'm subtracting 4x from both sides. 3x minus 11 equals 58. Adding 11 to both sides of my equal sign. 3x equals 69. Divide both sides by 3. X is going to equal 23. All right, questions on 9 through 12. Okay. All right, 3.4. Most important thing for this is in order for you to tell what's parallel, your perpendicular symbols have to be on this same transversal. So looking at this diagram up here, I'm just going to kind of go over this one. How do I know what's parallel? If D was my transversal, I have a perpendicular symbol here. I have a perpendicular symbol here. That means the lines that are cutting my transversal are parallel. So A and B are parallel. They're both perpendicular to D, and we used lines perpendicular to a transversal theorem. So same thing with this one. If B was my transversal, there's a perpendicular symbol right here and right here. They're both on the same transversal. So that means C is perpendicular and D is perpendicular to B. That means these two lines that cut my transversal are parallel. So you need to understand that. There is an answer in 3.4 on this practice questions, but there is none that are not perpendicular. So looking at this one, this is my transversal. There is a perpendicular symbol on X and Y that are perpendicular to Z. So for this one, what's parallel? X is parallel to Y. How do I know? That's based on the lines perpendicular to a transversal theorem. Yes, you could shorten the perpendicular word by putting the perpendicular symbol. That is fine. Looking at 14, are those perpendicular symbols sharing a transversal? No. So for this one, it is none. None of these lines are parallel. I cannot assume that there are 90-degree angles all over the place. No, they have to show me those perpendicular symbols. So looking at 15, what is parallel? What is my transversal? Okay, who can tell me? What are my lines that are on the same transversal? Say it one more time. Okay, if A and B are parallel, what's the transversal that they're cutting? So what would be parallel? Yes, A and B are parallel, but how do you know? Yeah. Good. So I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to do them all separate, use different colors. So here is A, it's perpendicular to N. This is my transversal. They're both sharing line N. Line N is my transversal, so then that's telling me that A is parallel to B. What else is parallel? There's a few in here. What else is parallel? You guys should have done this. Katya? L and say one more time. N, how do I know they're parallel? Good, B. So here is line L, it's perpendicular to B. This is my transversal. And yes, N is also on that transversal. It cuts that transversal. So I'm going to say L is parallel to N. What else? There's one more. Who could give me the last one? Yeah. We have A and B. M and N, and what's the transversal that they're cutting? Good. So M is right here. This is the transversal that they're cutting. And there's line N. So yes, there's another one. M is parallel to N. And how do I know that all of these are parallel? What did I use? All of these are using lines perpendicular to a transversal theorem. And they're all using that. And looking at 16, what is parallel for 16? Who can tell me? What is parallel for 16? What is parallel for 16, my last one? Yeah? A and B are parallel. Good. So let me show you again. Here's line A. Here's line B. N is my transversal. So A is parallel to B. Same thing as before, I'm using lines perpendicular to A, transversal theorem. Okay, questions on 13 through 16. Yeah.
Will there like be a question on the test that will ask us what theorem we use to identify this?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, the theorem could definitely help with proofs as well. So you should know what theorem you're using. Yes. All right, and the last page. There are quite a lot on here, so I'm going to kind of do it at the side. This was just 17 through 24. Did I skip some? Nope, I did not. You did not have to do the last two. You will see that on another test, but don't stress out about the distance. Study what you have to. Don't overwhelm yourself with that question because it was pretty lengthy. Just know that you will see it again in the upcoming chapters. So I'm going to go ahead and do these at the side over here. I'm going to rewrite them so we have them. The first four, 17 through 20, we're asking for a parallel, okay? Equations that cut it at a parallel point. So these are parallel. And I'm going to do all of them, okay? 17 through 20. So 17, what did I have? I had A, 3, negative 4, y equals negative x plus 8. Okay, first thing, they told me it's parallel. So what would my new slope be? What would my new slope be for my new equation? Yeah. Good, that's it. I just need the negative 1. That's my new slope. And now I'm going to go ahead and write what I have to solve. Because remember, you need your slope, and then you have to solve for b. So I'm going to go ahead and write my equation where I'm solving for b. So solving it, I'm going to kind of color code everything. What am I putting in? My y, which was what was given, equals my new slope. Please don't think I'm taking the original slope. I'm not. I'm taking the new slope times my x, and then I'm solving for b. So solving it, I'm going to get negative 4 equals negative 3 plus b. Add 3 to both sides. I'm going to get negative 1 equals b. So my new equation that was parallel through that line is going to be y equals negative x minus 1. Where am I getting this negative from? I'm taking that negative 1. That was my new slope. And I'm taking my b and plugging it in. So this should be my answer in the end. Yes. Go ahead, sign up. All right, that's 17. I'm going to go ahead and do 18 as well. 18 said again it was parallel. So I'm still using the same kind of format. I have a, negative 6, 5, where y equals 1/2 x minus 7. So I'm solving it the same way, finding that new slope. Remember, it's parallel, so my slope is going to be the same. Plugging in what they're giving me, those points, and solving for b. So plugging in, I'm going to have 5 equals that slope that I have times negative 6 plus b, and I'm solving for b again. I'm going to get 5 equals negative 3 plus b. Add 3 to both sides. I'm going to get 8 equals b, and my new equation is going to be y equals 1/2 x plus 8. Again, where am I getting that 1/2? Was from my slope. And where am I getting that 8? Was from my y-intercept after I solved. All right, 19. A was 2, 0. y equals 3x minus 5. Again, it's still parallel. My slope is going to be 3. And then plugging in, I have 0 equals 3 times 2 plus b. Again, I'm still solving for my b. 0 equals 6 plus b. Subtract 6 from both sides. Negative 6 equals b, so my equation is going to be y equals 3x minus 6. Again, where am I getting this information from? That's my new slope. That's my new y-intercept. And then the last one, number 20. 20, I have a is 3 negative 1. Y equals 1/3 x plus 10. My new slope. If it's parallel, it's the same. And then plugging in, I have negative 1 equals 1/3 times 3 plus b. And then solving it, negative 1 equals 1 plus b. Subtract 1 from both sides. Negative 2 equals b. And now I could write my equation. Y equals 1/3 x minus 2. Again, where am I getting this from? What I solved for and what I found. Questions on parallel. Okay, this is my parallel. Finding a line parallel to what was given. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to finish the next 4 and then I'll go back to it. Okay. Next 4 was asking for perpendicular. So what's the difference between parallel and perpendicular slopes? Perpendicular, what does your slope have to be? Go ahead. Opposite and reciprocal. Good. Perpendicular. Perpendicular is opposite and reciprocal. Okay, it has to be both. It cannot be one or the other. So, starting with 21. I have A. I'm still doing the same process, but my slope is going to be opposite and reciprocal. So, looking at this, what would my new slope be? Who could give me the first one? Yeah. Good. Opposite is positive. Reciprocal is you're just flipping it. So my slope would be 1/2. So same thing as before. I'm still plugging in, but I'm using the new slope when I'm solving for b. So I have negative 1 equals 1/2 times 6. And then I'm solving for b. So solving it, I'm going to have negative 1 equals 3 plus b. Subtract 3 from both sides. Negative 4 equals b. And then all I have to do is plug everything into my new equation. Y equals 1/2 x minus 4. Again, where am I getting this from? This is where I got my 1/2 from. And this is where I got my negative 4 from. And then I would have my answer. Going ahead and doing 22. 22, I have A, which is 0/3, Y, which is negative 1/2, X minus 6. And same process, first I'm going to go ahead and find my new slope. What would my new slope be? What's opposite reciprocal of negative 1/2? Yeah, good. My slope is going to be 2. So that's what I'm going to use when I plug in. I have my Y, which is 3. Equals my slope, which is 2, times 0 plus b. This one's pretty easy. I'm just going to get 3 equals 0 plus b. So 3 equals b. And plugging in y equals 2x plus 3. And again, where am I getting this from? I'm just plugging in what I solved for. And then 23. It's really repetitive. It's just practice. A, which is 8/2. Y, which is 4x minus 7. What is my new slope? Yeah. Good, negative 1/4. That is my new slope. So plugging in what I have my y equals my new slope times my x, which is 8. And then I'm solving for my b. 2 equals negative 2 plus b. So I'm adding 2 to both sides. 4 equals b. And then I'm just going to go ahead and write my equation again. Y equals negative 1/4 x plus 4. So this is being plugged in, and this is being plugged in as well. And then the last one, 24. 24, I have a, which is negative 1/5, where y equals 1/7x plus 4. What is my new slope? Yes. Good. M equals negative 7. And then same thing as before, plugging in. I have my y equals my slope, which was negative 7, times negative 1. And then I'm solving for b. So 5 equals 7 plus b. Subtract 7 from both sides. Then I'm going to get negative 2 equals b. And then just plugging in. Y equals negative 7x minus 2. That's where I'm getting my negative 7. That's where I'm getting my negative 2. And I'm done. Okay. So this was the perpendicular ones for the page. Any questions on these? You will see these on the test. So please make sure you know how to solve these. All right, if you go to practice A and B, so go ahead and open up practice A and B. I'm going to write down the proof questions that you should be practicing on there. I'm writing it down in here so when you go back to the video, if you want to watch it, you could have it. The proof questions that are really good to study on practice A and B. So this is chapter 3, practice A and B. I'm going to write the important ones, just the proofs. Again, this test is not just on proofs. This test is an entire chapter 3 test. Yes, there are 2 proof questions. One is fill in the blank, and one is completely blank where you have to write the entire thing yourself. So, if you go to practice A and B, if you go to 3A, number 5, or not, just kidding, not number 5, number 6 is a proof that you should practice. 3B, you have number 7. 3 puzzle time, I'm just going to write PT. It's not a number, but that one has a fill in the blank. So that one, the fill in the blank is E, F, and G. That one's kind of like a fill in the blank one to look at on the puzzle time questions. Then you have 3.4A, number 5. And then you have 3.4B, also number 5, okay? These are proof questions that you should definitely look over and practice. You can most likely solve proofs in more than 4 steps. So just know that we could solve them in different ways as long as it makes sense. And yes, I will check it. But practice these. Again, your test is not just on proofs. It is 16 questions. 2 out of those 16 questions are going to be proofs. Again, one blank, one fill in the blank, and one completely blank. Those are worth 8 points each. The rest of the questions on the test are worth 6 points. So you still have a possibility of getting an A. If you choose, I don't remember how to do a proof, the completely blank one. But you guys should always be doing the given. That should be the easiest one. So you should at least get points there. Yes.
What are these?
Proofs to practice that are on practice A and B. Because there is a completely blank proof on the test. So these are just practice questions. Okay. But definitely practice all of A and B. understand the vocabulary, understand the concept, and you should be good. So please study this. Your test is tomorrow, the 3rd. 16 questions.